How do you go from being rejected by every person in your life almost, hurt, wounded, ashamed, you want to get out of town, you want to leave, you don't want to be around, to, oh, Santa, you need my help? No problem, count me in, it would be my honor. How did Rudolph get to that space? You know what he did? He chose to forgive. You know, there's something I saw in this story after looking at it last week and analyzing it and praying about it. Like, what's the real lesson in this story? And it's something I had never seen before. For 35 years, you know, since the first time I saw this movie. And it might be something you've never seen before in this movie. What is the main lesson here that we should take away? See if you recognize it. Rudolph didn't let bitterness hold him back. I was thinking about this, and every main character, every person of influence in Rudolph's life rejected him, except for Clarice and Hermie. His mom, his dad, his coach, Santa, his friends. There's no place here for you. Your nose, that doesn't fit in. And he felt so rejected that he ran away and was almost killed by the abominable snow monster. And then Santa gets an idea. Oh my gosh, your nose can help us get through the storm. Hey, would you guide my sleigh tonight? And all of a sudden, Rudolph says, it would be my honor. How do you go from being rejected by every person in your life almost, hurt, wounded, ashamed, you want to get out of town, you want to leave, you don't want to be around, to, oh, Santa, you need my help? No problem, count me in, it would be my honor. How did Rudolph get to that space? You know what he did? He chose to forgive. Wow, I don't know if he caught that or not. I had never seen that. See, here's what's true for you, and here's what's true for me. Bitterness and resentment and grudge holding will block us from the path of love. It's very difficult to love and serve somebody when you ain't liking them and hating on them and having grudges against them. You agree? Like, you don't want to serve the people that hurt you. And here is Santa, you know, having made this quasi-apology. Oh, maybe I was a little hard on the little guy, a little tight guy, you know. And then Donner offers this really quick apology. I don't even know if you saw it in the movie. I had to go back and look for it. Donner, his father, says this really super quick apology. Oh, I am sorry too. And all of a sudden, the movie goes right on to the bad news about the storm. And Rudolph's forgiveness isn't even seen in the movie. How do we even know Rudolph apologized? Well, think about his response to the request to save Christmas. I mean, put yourself in Rudolph's situation, right? You've been hurt, you've been wounded by every main person in your life, and they've rejected you, and now they need your help. Yeah, I might help you if you grovel at my feet for several hours and beg me to help. Oh, you want my help now? You've been making fun of my nose my whole life, so much so that I'm ashamed of it. I want to cover it up. I want to run away. And now you want to use my nose to save Christmas? Oh, sure, I'll be right over. That's not how we do it. That's not how we roll. How do I know? Because that's not how, I just know. I know human beings. Here's what human beings do. When they're offended, hurt, wounded, they back away and they cut people off. You hurt me? I'm done. It's so vogue and hip and cool to block people and I don't talk to them anymore and I don't receive their calls and they don't serve me anymore. They don't serve my well-being, so I block them and they've offended me. And so that's how I know. Like, imagine Rudolph, you know, hey Rudolph, can you help save Christmas? Santa, I've blocked you. Did you want to say something? I can't hear you. Because I've shut you out. Remember what you said about my nose? Remember you told my dad should be ashamed of my nose, and now you need my help? Oh, that's not how it works, see? That's our culture. And that's why the Bible tells us. I hope you read this book. I read it this morning again at 6 o'clock in the morning. Read it every single day. Try to adhere to it, follow it, do what it says, because it's a book of wisdom. It's a book of life. Colossians chapter 3 gives us this pathway. Make allowance for each other's faults. You know what my translation of this verse is? Make space for the stupid people. That's fun. That's kind of fun, don't you think? Did he just say stupid in church? There's a lot of them out there. So make space for people to be idiots. That's another version out there. Make allowance for each other's faults. And then, watch this, forgive anyone, coach, mom, dad, brother, sister, Santa. Supposed to love everybody, right? Yourself, God. Forgive anyone who offends you. Does that sound like a nice pie in the sky idea? Oh, it's a good thought. Might help you. No, this is like a pathway to great living. Forgive anyone who offends you. Why? Because if you don't, something terrible will happen to you. The curse of bitterness is built in. What do I mean by that? When you hold a grudge and you don't fail, and you fail to forgive, bitterness begins to grow up inside of you like plaque begins to grow inside of your arteries. Anybody have a problem with that? Plaque inside of your arteries? I do. Got a heart scan not too long ago. Doc said, hey, you got some plaque buildup in your arteries. Like, that stinks. How do you fix that? You can't. Oh, great. But even better news. Bitterness begins to build up like plaque. And if you don't forgive like plaque, it builds and builds and builds, and it gets harder and harder, and then it thickens and it squeezes, and then the blood can't get through the arteries, and then you have a heart attack. Bitterness works the same way. It begins to build up in your life and build up to where the blood can't flow and love can't flow through you and God's Spirit can't flow through you and it can't bless other people. And that's why the Bible warns us in Hebrews chapter 12 very clearly, watch out, be on guard, be alert, be on your toes because of the poisonous root of bitterness. It might grow up in you and trouble you, and not just you, but your brother, your sister, your mother, your cousin, your uncle, your coworkers, your boss, your employees. See, it doesn't just stop with you. This bitterness that is poison, it touches everybody around you because when you become bitter and you start holding grudges, there's a vibe you give off, there's a feeling you give off, there's an anger, there's a tone, and everybody you talk to says, back away from her, back away from him. She's infected with that tone, that bitterness, that anger, that resentment. And it builds and it builds and it builds. When you let that happen, and so many of us have, you're out of the game. What do I mean by that? Well, think about it. How did Rudolph save Christmas? So, what was his nose? Obviously, his nose lit up and it got him through the fog and the storm. Not so. I mean, yes, in a sense, it was Rudolph's nose that saved Christmas, but that's not the entire truth. What allowed Rudolph to save Christmas was his choice to forgive.